Chapter 9. As the five heroes stared down the four cherubim, each exchanged glances with the others to mentally clarify which opponent was meant for whom. Each had roles they usually filled, but the oddity of these opponents in the presence of Zatanna threw off their normal routine. Still, it didn't take them more than a moment to decide how to split up. Batman went straight for the giant with the mace and delivered several punches to his pristine man mask, but elicited no audible response. The enemy took a swing with his weapon, but on Zatanna's command of "Sim!" his arm jerked unnaturally away from Batman. The Dark Knight continued to pound at his stomach, but thanks to either the thickness of the armor or sheer resilience, the man did not respond. Over in the audience, Batgirl made a run for the Ox, who appeared to be the most all-around formidable of the four. Though not as physically impressive as the man, the Ox was still of great size and wielded extra range thanks to the polearm. Batgirl considered attacking the man with her speed advantage, but a wrong move could easily lead to broken bones. The polearm didn't possess quite the same threat, and she was more accustomed to battling blades. The Ox took swift jabs, and it was clear he understood the edge his range gave him. As Batgirl danced around the strikes, she couldn't help but think how useful a sword would be in that situation. She tried to dodge out the swings to go for his back, but the Ox proved too quick and efficient. Without wasting a single movement, he proved fast enough to keep up with her. She threw a few batarangs, which seemed to harmlessly bounce off his armored chest. Spoiler and Robin ran at the lion together. As the enemy leveled his shotgun, Robin triggered a mechanism within his bow to extend the metal outward into a shield. The impromptu protection blocked the first blast of gunfire, while Spoiler dodged the lion's back and kicked him at the base of the spine. To her surprise, his reaction proved rapid, and she took a slash to one of her arms from his claws for the effort. After a quick cry of pain, Robin made his way to her side and thrust his staff up into the lion's chin. By the grunt the big man let out, it seemed to be the first attack to elicit any reaction. Zatanna glared at the eagle, unimpressed. "I come and visit your city, and you keep all the good ones to yourself? Maybe I'll crack at some decent bad guys when I'm in Metropolis next week." With that, she clasped her hands together and commanded, "Et Halviel!" The eagle looked at itself in confusion as it began to rise off the ground. "What's the matter?" Zatanna said. "This bird doesn't know how to fly?" The eagle pulled the handgun from his belt and leveled another shot into Zatanna's already injured shoulder. The hit broke her concentration, and he fell to the ground. Blades in hand, the eagle regained its balance and rushed toward her. Too distracted by the wound to conjure a spell, Zatanna instead raised her right foot and kicked the eagle in the chest. As he fell backwards, she waved her hands again and commanded, "Teen up!" A sound like the opening of a knife cut through the air, as one of her stiletto heels shaped itself into a crude blade. She raised it to try and kick him again. The eagle retreated, and she gained a little more breathing room. The four fights raged for a few minutes. No member on either side showed any signs of slowing, a detail that Batman grew increasingly wary of. "The damage isn't sticking," he said when he found himself back-to-back with Batgirl. "I don't like it, but if we start to crack their armor, try some pressure points." Batgirl nodded and took a lunge toward the Ox. With a batarang in her right hand, she clashed with the polearm when it came close enough. After a quick lock, she punched the Ox in the face, grabbed him behind his head, and knocked it into her knee. The sound didn't resemble the usual smash of an attack, but instead some kind of mechanical crunch. With the polearm knocked from the Ox's hand, she kicked it aside. Batgirl raised two fingers and swung at the Ox's neck. Though it didn't seem to be covered, the strike didn't have any effect. She double-took at this failure, and the Ox smashed his masked face against her own. All of the armor and metal inside his helmet caused a tiny explosion in the forefront of her head. Batgirl stumbled backwards and clutched at what she was sure was an open wound. The Ox pushed forward and punched Batgirl in the face. Blood from her forehead slid into her mouth as the ringing in her head grew worse. Batgirl squinted from behind her mask, desperate to regain focus and better follow his movements. When the Ox came at her again, she caught one of his large fists and twisted it to the point of an audible crack. To only faint surprise by now, the Ox snapped his hand back into place and clenched his fist, as if challenging her to try it again. "Broke a wrist!" she called to her comrades. "He broke it back!" "What the hell is it with these guys?" Robin took cover from shotgun fire as Spoiler grabbed his staff off the ground and took a few ineffective swings of her own. "Nothing's holding them down!" "We told you!" the four chanted. "Cherubim! Children of the Almighty! At this, Batman noticed something. As he dodged a strike from the mace, he raised a hand to his ear. Oracle, there's no way they're talking in unison. Their words have to be pre-recorded. Nearby, Batgirl was sure Barbara was saying something on the other end before Batman replied, See if you can get a signal. It's whoever's in charge I want. There came a sudden, audible electric jolt of static from behind the man's mask, before an entirely different voice, this time only from the man's mask, spoke. A time for everything, Dark Knight! Everyone in the room froze for a moment and stared at the man. The voice was not terribly deep, but still held a certain resonance, and every accent behind every word was articulated to a point. I think you're rushing to answers far too quickly. Our game has only just begun. Is this a game to you? Batman said. Good. Speaks to what we're dealing with, and what I will have to do when I find you. He slowly took his contemplative stance and allowed his cape to cover the front of his body as he leered at the man. Strong words from Gotham's favorite false savior, the voice said. Your city has survived much too long. I have simply come to... Batman didn't permit him to finish. Before the man said anything more, he threw a handful of pellets at the ground. In an instant, the surrounding area was full of smoke, and Batman yelled, Zatanna, grab the eagle! Barg et Elga, Zatanna said. There came a smash against one of the walls. Surely the eagle was being held in place. Gunshots filled the room in search of any target they could get at, but the cloud was too dense to successfully land any hits. Only a single one grazed Batgirl's left arm. She cringed and grabbed at the wound, but knew it was not severe enough and managed to keep herself from responding vocally. When she made it to where the others gathered, Zatanna quietly recited, Elphab Sa'i, Elphab Saray. Batgirl was unsure what the spell did until the smoke finally dissipated. Although they stood before their remaining three enemies, it seemed they had become invisible, possibly inaudible, too. Their three foes exchanged looks with one another, and began to scour the auditorium in search of any sign of their enemies or their comrade. I'd call this a good time to take them out, Zatanna whispered, but all these tricks are starting to wear me out, and it looks like those other three are going to be trouble. If they're not going to try and get away with another murder tonight, we'll let them slip for now. Batman turned to where the eagle remained strapped in place. Hopefully something from this one will give us a lead to where their commander is hiding. First things first, though. There came only a small show of resistance as Batman reached down and pulled the mask from the eagle's face. The Yank took some kind of headphones and speaker with it. The man under the mask, however, was a horror to behold. His bloodshot eyes stared into nothing at all. A line of drool slipped down his lips, and his skin showed pale and white as a corpse. Batgirl, Robin, and Spoiler all reeled back at the sight. Batman took a long look at the mask before police sirens became audible outside. The resonant voice on the other side of the headphones commanded, The police have come! You idiots will have to finish this another day! Return to the kingdom, don't bother with them! It is not their time. Not yet. The three cherubim looked at one another and made a dart out the back door of the auditorium. Zatanna allowed her spell to dissipate a moment later, as the police, led by Commissioner Gordon, made their way in. Gordon himself stepped directly to the Bat family. What happened here? He asked Batman. I heard something about a magic show getting interrupted, and sure enough this place is a wreck. A new face in our city, unfortunately. Batman shoved the still silent, unmasked eagle toward the Commissioner. Apparently he calls himself the Seraphim. This one and three others were possibly his heavies. This man looks like death. Gordon adjusted his glasses as he looked down at him. He may have been under some kind of influence. Check his blood and this. Batman handed him the headset and speaker, leaned in close, and said, And pass it off to Oracle when you're finished with it. Gordon nodded and accepted the equipment, then called, Bullock! Sawyer! Help me load this guy into the wagon. We're going to have a few questions for him when we get back to the station. With the situation now in the hands of the GCPD, the five gathered on the roof. Those who wished to unmask briefly to see Zatanna off had the opportunity. I can stay here, you know, she said. If this is where you need me, Bruce. You deal with the same few thugs over and over again, you get stagnant. Do you really want to try and learn one more criminal from the ground up? We'll be fine, Batman said. This is our city. It's in our care. Sorry about your show, Stephanie said. Ah, don't worry about it, kid. You can have Bruce's free ticket if you want it next time I'm in town. It's apparently impossible to get him out of his costume on any given night. The two laughed a little as Zatanna and Bruce exchanged a shake of hands. The magician seemed to expect more of the moment. When she didn't receive it, she excused herself. The four who remained were quiet on the rooftop for a few minutes, before Cassandra stepped forward. So, were you right then? They were extremists. Stephanie's hands clasped over her mouth. Oh, God, Cassie. I told you I was sorry you had to learn like this. Batman's voice was solemn. Cassandra took it in for a moment and looked down without saying anything in response. I promise I'll talk to you about all this tomorrow when you come over, okay? Stephanie said. I promise you those are the crazy ones. There's always crazy ones. But they're not like you and me. That's not what this is about. I don't think that's the right way to put it. Both women froze up and looked at Tim as he said it. With a shake of his head, he pressed on. Not what it's about? Everyone interprets the book differently, Steph. These are hardly the first... Stop it, Tim! Stephanie's voice was suddenly very defensive. This is a delicate situation. Steph, I know what I'm saying. I don't think you should be painting her such a black and white picture here. I know you're having your own struggle, Tim, but I'm the one working with Cassie. I'm the one reading to her. Both of you stop it, Batman commanded. They both fell silent as he did. Neither of you are helping. It's all right. Cassandra exchanged looks with the two. Stephanie, don't think I'll be by tomorrow. I need time. Cassie... Batman laid a hand on Stephanie's shoulder. It was a simple enough way to signal not to resist as Cassandra jumped off the roof. With her grapple in hand and mask pulled back on, Batgirl made her way to the streets and tried to wrap her head around all she'd just seen.